YouTube land. This is a sort of weird little like mini-series I'm going to do. I'll call it Whammy Bars. Because it's all about these units, these vibrato units here, or also known as Whammy Bars, or incorrectly known as tremolo bars. We're going to look at who made them, how they work, why they were made, and how actually good they are. And of course, that all-important question, can they dive bomb? Now the first one I'm going to look at is the licensed Floyd Rose. Now, it's important I mention licensed because official Floyd Roses they have different features which make them significantly better. This licensed Floyd Rose we're going to look at is very, very poor. Only for its tuning stability though. This is the unit here. It's on my Washburn Diamag Darrell Stealth. And to the naked eye, it might not seem any different. Apart from those of you who know, who will spot something a little bit different going on here. The Floyd Rose vibrato was invented in 1977 by a guy under the same name, Floyd Rose. And he was a man who loved guitarists like Ritchie Blackmore and like Jimi Hendrix, and using Jazz Masters and Fender Stratocasters, he would always use his vibrato very, very aggressively, like they would. Apart from he found that every 5 seconds he would put his one out of tune. And so he wanted to try and create a system that stayed in tune a lot better. So he had the whole idea of the strings being clamped down at this end, and then later them being clamped down at this end of a locking nut. So that the strings cannot move at all here, and can only move up here, but are blocked here. So there is to be no sort of things catching them and no friction or anything, so they can just move around the only way they should be whilst they're here. And so the whole purpose of that was so that so they wouldn't be stretched and they wouldn't be pulled out of tune, and they would just stay in tune no matter how much you go. That's fun. After Floyd Rose invented the Floyd Rose vibrato system in 1977, the first guitar company to really take hold of it was Kramer, and I think they actually had a deal where only they could have it on their guitars for a while, and it got massive with people like Eddie Van Halen and people like that. And so it's kind of synonymous with shred and with metal music, but it's a very versatile system once it's set up properly, and it can be used because it's so sensitive. And you hardly have to do anything to get it to move quite a lot. You can really use it for any genre, it has any kind of range, as long as you can sort of soften your touch to do it correctly. Taken from the design of Fender's synchronised tremolo, which I shall get onto in another week, which can be found on his Guitars Like This Strat. The Floyd Rose has a top unit here, where the strings go through, a block near the back, and springs going up to a claw, which will then look at here. See, here's the block, and then springs go up to the claw. Now, those of you who are eagle-eyed out there might have noticed that there were holes. There were 6 holes here where there weren't on the Strat one that aren't on here, and that's because with a Floyd Rose, on an official Floyd Rose anyway, the strings go in here and are clipped. So you cut off the ball end, you put them in here, and they get locked in. Here's the main difference between a sort of an official Floyd Rose and this licensed one. The strings don't get clipped and held in there. Instead, you might be able to see they go through here and just sit here. This is the main reason why this vibrato doesn't stay in tune when you use the bar. So we've got everything locks nicely up here, but then these are free to move around as you depress and pull at the bar, which causes them to stretch. That is like the main thing that makes this unit pretty much unusable. In actual fact, I'm selling this guitar and have sold another one purely on these just not working. It's really that bad. So for getting yourself up and in tune, what you need to do is, if it's completely out of tune or if you're just restrung it, you would take the bolts off here using an Allen wrench in like that, and then you turn it and you can take these off. And you would you'd completely tune it up here as you normally would. It might fight against you a little bit, but then once it's set, you pop these back on, and then because these have pressed the strings down, they may sharpen or flatten a bit. So you then use these fine tuners like you would have on instruments like violins and violas, and you pull it back in tune. The way the mechanism works is on a balance, and it's the balance between the strings you've got, gauge and tuning, because of course the sharper you tune, the more tension you have, and the lower down you tune, the less you have. And obviously the thicker the strings you have, the more tension, and then you balance it against the amount of springs you use. I've seen people use as few as 2, and I've seen as many as I use 5, because I tend to play with 11s gauge strings. If there were no springs at the back, all the tension of the strings would be pushing the bar so it's all the way forward like that. And if there are no strings, these would be pulling it so it would be all the way back like this. Because as you can see, this unit I've got set up floating. Some Floyd Roses, the guitars they're set on, don't have this little crevice here, this little padded crevice. So you can only go down unless you sort of set it at a wonk angle floating. But this one is, this guitar's built so you pretty much have to have it floating and nothing else. So to achieve that, you need to get the right balance between the tension of the strings and the tension of the springs so that you can go down and up. Now we're going to look at the range of it. Now the range will be a bit of a better subject for other vibrato systems, because as we're going to find out, it drops so much the strings flap against the fretboard. So for like future videos of this, I'm going to do up from the from both octaves of the E strings and just see how far they go down on either side. But of course, for both we go from E to a fart and E to a fart. It's got just a massive range. It's unreal. It's not really musical to have it just going. So it's not really got like a range. It's literally got the lowest range you can get from one of these. There's no need to go any lower because it just wouldn't produce any proper sound. One of the other most important things to ask about one of these is, can it stay in tune? And we'll find out. So, in tune. And now. It's doing pretty well. Let's just go all the way down. Oh dear. Let's go all the way up. It's gotten a bit flat, hasn't it? I'm actually somewhat shocked there. It's staying in tune better than it's ever done before, which isn't very great. It's a bit flat in parts. What if we start bending strings? Oh, now it's starting to show its true colours. We can hear where at parts it's flattened, and then as we've bent, it's pulled the flat through. So yeah, let's see if it does the whole trick where if you drop it, it comes back. Just about. Still a bit awkward to have to dive for every time you bend though, isn't it? Because now. Of course, the all-important question of, can it dive bomb? Well, this is a Floyd Rose, so it definitely can. Final opinion. Proper official Floyd Roses are really good. They're a bit fiddly. It takes a while to get them in tune, but they're worth having because you can go for hours and hours and hours. A licensed one, especially this variation of license, it isn't worth having. I mean, it's actually, annoyingly, because I filmed it, it's saying tune better as ever done ever today, but it still has the whole problem of if you bend a string, it'll go out of tune, which, if you ever have a vibrato that does that, and someone's told you that, oh, that's a good system, it's not. There is something wrong that you need to find and sort it out, because I've had guitars that have had that, and I've fixed something, and it's just done it. It depends on which guitar and which vibrato you're using. But if you ever get a guitar, and you really, really, really love it, but it has a licensed Floyd, I'd really, really recommend swapping it out for a proper Floyd.
Hello, if you enjoyed the video, hit like, and if you really enjoyed and want to see more, hit subscribe. Goodbye.